My name is Eric Rechlin, and this presentation is titled 1 Million HHC Files. This is because I'm talking about the USB drive that all of you have in your packets, and for the first year we just passed 1 million files on this. So I've been archiving HP Calculator files since 1997 when I started hpcalc.org. And skip forward a couple decades, HHC 2017, I commandeered the production of the HHC USB drive.
I want to see you commandeered. We're very happy to see you.
And since 2020, another project I started is scanning all HP Calculator related materials for my website, which I call literature.hpcalc.org, the HP Calculator Literature Archive. And this USB drive is a collection of everything I can find related to HP calculators, and also other extras for other brands of calculators and other HP products. Most of what's on this USB drive is spread throughout the internet, but some things are only on this drive. The last year's drive, it's been increasing steadily year after year. Last year we had a 256 gigabyte drive, had about 16 gigabytes free. But after last year's conference, once I made my video recordings and added them to the drive, that added 15 gigs, scanned some more books, it's full. So we had to go to a bigger drive, especially since the other collections on here have increased in size as well. So for the first time, it's a 512 gigabyte drive. It has everything from all past year's drives, so there's no reason to hang on to your old drives except as a souvenir. Give it to a friend, that would work too. And as I said, it has 1 million files for the first time. For several years, since about 2018, I've been using Samsung drives. They have something called the Bar Plus. It's a very nice USB drive. I use the 128 and 256 gigabyte versions of it. It's reasonably priced, pretty fast, especially for 2018 standards, durable. The thing is, there was no 512 gigabyte model, so I wasn't sure what I would do this year. They finally announced one in April. Unfortunately, it's priced higher than pretty much any other 512 gigabyte USB drive. And I wondered, is a 6-year-old drive, even if it's new capacity, really the best option today in 2024? So I went on Amazon, looked for premium quality drives that were made of metal and rated highly, and I selected 6 that I purchased to try out. And I discovered that not only are, of course, not all drives are made equal, but some of them are very different from others. So here are the 6. The Samsung, the new 512 gigabyte version, an SSK branded external SSD. So the external SSDs are typically going to be faster than regular USB drives. It's a 2-in-1 with both USB A and C. PNY Elite X, just regular USB A, more on the budget side. The SanDisk Ultra Flare, similar, and then 2 more SanDisk Ultra Lux, one just USB A, one with A and C. So the first thing you'll see, the price is almost double from the cheapest to the most expensive, from $37 in the Ultra Flare to about $65.70 on the Bar Plus. They all claim to be 512 gigabytes, but if you look here, the actual size varies quite a bit. It looks like about 19 gigabytes from the smallest to the biggest. The Samsung was the biggest. They claim 512. It's actually 513.2. And the SSK was also just over 512. None of the others reached the rated capacity. The 2 SanDisk Ultra Luxes were close, just over 500 gigs. These are 494, 496.
This would impact if you wanted to copy it.
Yes, yes. So the way I copy these drives, I make an image, and then I write that image to other drives. The problem is if I make an image off a big drive, try to write to a small one, it's going to fail. The image cannot be bigger than the drive's capacity. The speeds varied a fair amount too, from 150 megabytes write to 150 megabytes read to 550 megabytes read. Write speeds are not always rated. I did some tests on this is writing large amounts of data at a time, not separate files, but just single large files, perhaps a drive image, to be able to get idea of what the speed is maximum. If you're writing lots of small files, it's going to take a lot longer. So 2.5 gigabytes of data. I found that drives tend to be faster initially and then slow down a bit as you're writing data for a variety of reasons. But read speeds were always less than claimed, but not necessarily a whole lot less. You can see the Samsung and the SanDisks were both around 350 out of a claimed 400. And the fast one, as expected, was the external SSD at 380 megabytes a second. So going into this, I was thinking this SSD might be the best option because it's reasonably priced. It's not the cheapest, but not anywhere near the most expensive either, and very good numbers. But while testing it, I discovered one thing that made it not feasible for what I was trying to do. And that's when we get to the actual speed of writing 250 gigabytes. You can see here, actually, the speed stayed pretty constant on the Samsung. It's just a reliable, solid drive. The SanDisk Ultra Lux is also pretty good, maintained basically the same speed as you wrote to the drive. The problem is in the others. The SanDisk Ultra Flare and PNY Elite X slowed down a lot. We're looking at only 28 megabytes a second when writing 250 gigabytes. That takes a long time to write a drive. I don't have time for that. The SSK was doing very well. 2.5 gigs wrote 380 megabytes a second. But I discovered that once you've written about 50 gigs, it slows down to about 50 megabytes a second. Way less, order of magnitude almost. The average over 250 gigs was only 75 megabytes a second. The reason I discovered on this, at least my guess, is that it gets very hot when you're writing data, and it must be thermally throttling itself. You give it time to cool off, it will then go back to its original speeds. So actually, this is a very good drive if you're only going to be writing 50 gigs or less at a time. It's just, when I'm making these drives for everyone, I want to write the whole thing at once, and this would take way too long. But as an all-around drive, this is probably your best option. However, what I end up selecting for almost all of you is this last one, the SanDisk Ultra Lux. The speeds are very good, second fastest. Price is very reasonable, and it worked great for what I was doing. A few of you were unlucky and got the Ultra Flare or the PNY Elite X. And then one of you is very lucky with the SSK external SSD.
They're physically small, so when I say in your hand, I should say between your fingers.
Right. Yes, they're quite compact. So this is showing me writing the drives. I plugged 5 of them into my computer at once because my computer is 5 of the highest speed ports. And if I plug in more, I can write more, but the speeds start dropping. 166 megabytes a second simultaneously to 5 drives. That's over 800 megabytes a second writing these drives. So including the verification step, which interestingly, this program here, Image USB, I was only seeing read speeds equivalent to write speeds. I was not getting as fast a speed as other times. But still, an hour to write, an hour to read, 2 hours to produce 5 drives. Here's what the properties look like. So you can see these are 500.1 gigabytes. That's 465 gigabytes if you measure it the binary way. And we're using 329 gigabytes. It's 1,018,000 files. Comparing to last year, what is taking up all the extra space? Since, as I said, we had a full 256 gigabyte drive after the conference videos, and now we're at 329, so we've taken a lot more space. Biggest thing, of course, was videos. I'll talk more about that later, why it went up so much. My literature archive and Jake's PPC archive each went up about 6 gigabytes. Other sites from the web that I archived, that went up quite a bit, about 15 gigabytes. hpmuseum.net up a little bit. My website now also 18.4 gigs. And the HHC proceedings went up several gigabytes with all the material from this year. Here's a distribution of it. I know the legend is going to be very difficult to match the colors, but if you go left to right, top to bottom, you go clockwise, that's how they match up. Especially if you're colorblind, it may not be easy. But you can see videos do take a third of the drive, about a third of what's being used. And then my literature archive is the next biggest thing, along with along with PPC archive, and then HP archive.
You might mention that Jake will cover the...
Yes. So this drive is now your electronic conference binder. In the years past, you would get a big, thick binder with all the printed conference proceedings. We switched to digital, save some trees, save some space on your bookshelf, and share a whole lot more content. So all the presentations and handouts from this conference are here. And as always, we have the past electronic conference binders from the past USB drives or CDs or DVDs included as well. So that's back to about 2011 when we started providing electronic copies of everything. Of course, all the old ones are in Jake's PPC archive, but he'll talk about that. A bunch of the sections had no changes or few changes. I'll really quickly go through what those were. There's an emulator section, which lets you run emulators directly in Windows without having to figure out how to put everything together and find the right skins and all that, which can be kind of tedious. I just updated a few of them to the latest versions. Fonts folder has one more font. hp41.org hasn't seen many updates, only about 20 for the last year. In fact, the site was even down for about a week this past couple of weeks, and I don't know, maybe it's not being maintained as much. hpcalc.org has a publication, HP Professional, along with some other minor stuff. My website, I only added about 150 updates over the last year, but one big change I made to the USB drive version of this is in the past I was using a program called WinHT-Track, and it's really handy for mirroring websites, but there's only so much it can do, and I was really having to work around some of its limitations, and it still wasn't quite properly mirroring my website. So what I'm doing now is I've just got a shell script running on my server that generates offline versions of all the HTML files, puts in a tarball, I download that, then I use rsync to synchronize all the other stuff. And now, before it would take 10 plus hours to mirror the whole site. Now with this, even though I'm adding throttling in everything so it doesn't slow down, doesn't put much load on the server, it still takes less than an hour. And that's with delays after every single file generation. Plus, it also fixes some of the issues I was discovering before. So it did grow my site slightly and will make offline browsing better. I will be updating the torrent probably the end of the year with the new way of doing it also. The torrent is for people who want to download this who don't have the USB drive. hpmuseum.net had a few minor updates. That's Australian HP Computer Museum. Under the ROMs folder, some HP 15C CE firmware files. PPC archive, I have it listed here because I'm not talking about it, but there were a lot of enhancements. Jake's going to talk about that later. One bigger section on the drive, which actually accounts for probably about half the total files, is the discussion forums. These are all the message board posts that have been made on the internet over the last 30 some years that I've been able to capture. There are two main sources of these posts, the comp.sys.hp48 newsgroup and the HP Museum forum, both the old museum forum and the new one. And if you look at this graph here, blue is the Usenet newsgroup, comp.sys.hp48. You can see it peaked, was that maybe 2000, 2001, somewhere in there. And then around that time, soon before that, is when the museum forum started, and it's slowly taken over until now. Usenet's dead, at least for discussion. In February, Google stopped allowing you to use Google Groups to post to Usenet, and after that, it's completely fallen off. We were seeing a couple posts a month up until then. Now we've had a couple posts all year. So unfortunately, 30 years, and Usenet discussion of the calculators is gone, but museum forum's still going strong. Sure, it's not the peak that it was 20 years ago, but we're still seeing close to 15,000 posts a year. One other change since last year is that in the past, a number of posts were inadvertently, maybe I'll use that word charitably, but were removed from the museum forum. And I went through the Wayback Machine and I've recovered several hundred more that had been lost. The other archived sites that are on there, I'll go through a few of the ones that are new. Area48.com, that's Carlos Marangon's HP 4849 for Beginners site. It really was going strong about 20 years ago, but it is still online. He did add a HP 50 section a couple years ago, but it's got just a lot of good information for someone who's new to these RPL machines. HP Memory Project, this is a collection of just documents, information about HP equipment from the 20th century. Fortunately, Mark passed away a few years ago, but the website still is up, but it's all now on this drive too. The Online Museum and Technical History of the Hewlett-Packard Company. This is more HP corporate history, a lot of photos too. That's archived. The Old Calculator Museum, this isn't really much. It has some HP, but that's not its focus. It's just mostly 1960s and 70s desktop calculators. vcalc.net, Rick Furr, he was at this conference in the past. He has both the HP calculator collection and a Curta mechanical calculator collection. This is his website dedicated to it. And then Bruce had this wiki4hp.com site, which unfortunately is no longer up. The domain name has been taken over by someone else. But he sent me the wiki that he made about HP calculators, mostly about repurposing things like the 30B. A couple more things with changes, or another couple new ones I didn't put pictures of. Swiss Micros has a technical website with a lot of technical resources for their calculators. That's on here now. And the HP Series 80 groups.io group had a lot more files added since last year, not necessarily because they're new, but because last year when I mirrored it, I missed some. So this now has everything. So because the drive has a lot of free space, we just doubled the size of it, I decided to use up some of that by including past conference videos. Before I was only including videos back to about 2019 because separately I have the HHC Videos USB drive. It's another 256 gigabyte drive with all of Jake's recordings from 1986 through 2019 and all my recordings from that time period too. So the two drives were companions. And I didn't really have the overlap. But now I figured I'll just add all the videos I recorded from 2011 through the present are on this drive too. That added 51 more gigabytes. And also we added the videos from the HPCC mini conference in October of last year, in addition to the HHC 2023 videos I mentioned. And there was a mini conference as well January of this year from HPCC. That was an interview with Bill Wicks. This video is not online. We're not going to put it online. It's just on the USB drive. And there are a couple other videos I added. So I'll show a demo of this is the video section of the drive and how you can just go through and browsing the videos. You won't be able to hear audio, I think. It's turned off right now, but this is just clicking through, showing all the different things in it. So you can just jump between all of them, see all videos from the past. Some familiar faces in here. That was in UK. I've got a couple of the Nashville videos on here as well. You can see as we go back in time, the video quality diminishes with the earlier cameras and my lesser abilities to record things.
James wearing the same shirt.
Richard's almost wearing the same shirt.
That's my first video, 2011. Another big thing on here is the literature archive. I've, as I said, added about 6 gigabytes of material compared to last year. It now has 31,000 more pages, 243 more books on here. The total collection, PDFs that came from HP, these are ones largely downloaded from HP's website, 87,000 pages and 545 books. The other part of it are PDFs that came from the community, in other words, things that we scanned, mostly things I scanned. But there are 1,345 scanned books from the community, 178,000 pages. I personally scanned 123,000 pages, that's 915 books over the last 4 years. In total, 266,000 pages, 1,890 items, 49 gigabytes. Actually, the drives you have in your hands now have 2 more books compared to what this said because I added them since I updated the presentation.
Has your scanner worn out yet?
I did wear out one scanner. Of course, it's always online, literature.hpcalc.org. Everything is there as well. But the USB drive makes it a lot easier to go through 49 gigabytes of data. Here's how it's changed over time. This is the total size of the archive. You can see I brought it online at about 500 books or so, about, 70,000 pages when I first launched the website. That's largely just HP materials. And then as I've scanned things, it's been going up. As people have been sending me scans they've done, it's been going up. It really went up the first year. It's kind of leveled off a little more, but still making some progress. You can see this year, not adding quite so much, just as I've been running out of things to scan myself and haven't been receiving as many from other people. So here's what I personally have scanned. So started at 0 at the beginning, and then first it was kind of slow because I was processing things from other people. Then I got Richard's collection, which I talked about a couple years ago. That kept me really busy for a while. And then once I finished his stuff, it slowed down a little bit, getting things from Bob and others. And now this year, I've not really scanned a whole lot.
Not a whole lot, it's only about 100.
Yeah. There's still some things I'm looking for that I haven't been able to get from anyone, so I'm hoping maybe someone can lend them to me to scan. Some of these do have scans done by other people, but I'm trying to make definitive 600 DPI scans of everything. The HP41 Real Estate Pack Quick Reference Guide, the HP41 Users Library Solutions Applied Statistics 1. I have book 2, but not book 1. The Users Library Solutions Tax is 1983. I know there's no use for that anymore, so hey, you have that. Yeah, so, but you're in Canada, so if there's someone in America who can lend these to me, it'd be a little more convenient for shipping back and forth, but last resort, I guess I could get them from you.
Prove it.
And then a third-party book that I really have been looking for a good scan of Computer Science on your HP41 using the Advantage ROM. That one I haven't found anyone with either. Also, I'm looking for more of the internal documentation. Service manuals, I have most of them scanned, but they're generally photocopies. If someone has an original or a better copy than the ones I scan, that would be a nice upgrade. Also, the NOMOS, the ROM listings. I'm still missing the 75IO ROM, 82104A card reader, 82180A extended functions, and 82905B printer. I know they exist. Other people, I know some people who do have them, but again, I'm trying to avoid overseas shipping if at all possible.
Eric, do you know if the 75 service manual is one you're looking for?
I don't remember, but if you check and look at it, if it's not a good, if it's a perfect scan, don't worry about it. If the quality isn't good, or if it doesn't exist, then yes, I do need it. Yes.
The 82905 printer, I don't remember that number.
That's the MX80 with the.
Oh, okay.
MX80 with HPIL.
Okay.
I'm surprised there's no mask for that.
Okay.
Oh, supposedly there is. Maybe that's one where there was one that I'm not certain there is, but I think someone said they had it. I'm not sure. Something I was asked to do by Bob that was a good idea is to give a little bit more detail about a few things that are on the drive that you may have missed that are pretty cool. One thing that I really like are emulators. I don't want to deal with storing or acquiring a large collection of calculators or keeping the batteries in them from destroying them, that kind of thing. But emulators are so much fun, you can have them all with you anywhere on your computer. So these here are all the Pioneer emulators on there. These are Christoph Gieslink's emulators. EMU42 and EMU28 is what runs all of these here. And they're all, you can see, turned on, running in Windows. These are the RPL models, or maybe not necessarily RPL for the user interface, but RPL in the background, the 3839, 40, 48, 49, 50, again, all running in Windows. Eric Smith's non-parallel Voyager emulators. Some more LCD models. This is EMU71, free 42 plus 42. This is V41 and 3134S simulators. This is Tnix, Tony Nixon. He has a set of emulators that are pretty cool. They run Windows. Unfortunately, they're relatively low resolution, but all the LED models. And most of them are running the original ROMs. Some are not. They're simulations. But they're all clickable. Pretty cool. And desktop models as well. I've got a couple videos here of the desktop models to show you. Can we get this? There we go. So let's watch it. Here's a demo of the HP 97. There's audio. Unfortunately, you're not going to hear it here. But as you click, you can hear the printer. You can hear the key clicks, and just animated as you're typing. You click the buttons, and the buttons push down. It's a really fun emulator. It's probably hard to see the screen here because it's red on black, but it's the original font. Yeah, well, yeah. Or turn around, you can see it in the back too.
Dim the lights a little bit.
Yeah. And then the other one that's fun, this is the 9100. And watch what happens when you turn it on. So I'm going to click to turn it on. And it's going to fade the CRT on to simulate how the CRT actually turns on. I'm typing numbers. Yeah. And again, you can see the keys push down as you click them. It's got a card reader. I haven't figured out how that thing works. And the rotating knob on the side for the decimal places. You turn it off, and it's going to do the CRT turning off thing. So yeah, these are just really fun emulators. Don't know. Another thing you may not have noticed, hp41.org has a users library selection. And this, I realize that the vast majority of the 41 users library is gone, but there are hundreds, I think maybe close to 400 or so, that have been scanned, mostly for the 41, some for the 67 as well. And they're in the hp41.org website. Here's an example of one of them. You can see they're decent scans, pretty legible, a lot of handwritten stuff.
Star Wars.
Another thing on here you may not have noticed, the schematics of a lot of the older HP calculators and accessories from the HPCC CD, Tony Duell hand drew these. And these could be handy if you're trying to repair the old calculators. Learning modules, these were produced for a number of the more recent machines. This is showing you refinancing a loan on the HP12C. Step-by-step guides.
Right.
Yeah, Gene worked on these. Press photographs. These are official HP press photographs of pretty much all their calculators. There's a folder full of them, very high resolution.
Those are the ones I sent you?
No, they came from Kerry McAllister, I think. So a guy used to run HP's website. He sent me a CD with them 20-some years ago.
Makes it easy with a CD.
Yeah. Another section, Green Dyke manuals. I did a talk, I mentioned this in one of my presentations some years back, but this guy in the Netherlands recreated several manuals for the 41 series, 15C, a few others. And they're just really nice, simulating what the actual manuals look like, but they're HTML web pages. Here's an example from the 15C handbook. You can just you can page through them down here, switch to sections up here, or jump to pages up here. And also the 41 handbook as well. Again, beautifully recreated. So all of you have a USB drive in your conference packet. You did not pay for it. Other people paid for it. What I mean is that after the conference, I sell these USB drives on commerce.hpcalc.org, and $25 of the purchase price goes to HHC, which means they are subsidizing your drives. So when you pay the registration fee, you're getting the drive for free because the people who chose not to come to the conference are buying your drives for you. So thank the people who didn't come.
We could be a government too.
The price has gone up this year because of the higher price. The drives is now $80. And as I said, $25 goes to HHC. Some of it's PayPal fees. A lot of it's the cost of the drive, and I get a few dollars at the end. A little fine print here, just to remind everyone, you put this drive in your computer, your virus scanner is going to flag it. Sometimes it'll give a whole bunch of false alarms, but there's really only one thing that's a real understandable thought as being a threat, is a program called already.com. And on DOS machines, it could take over things, but it serves an intentional purpose on the 200LX. So it's a 200LX program. It's not going to run on a modern computer. It's not a virus, but I can see why it's considered suspicious. It's been tested. There are no viruses on here, and there will be false alarms, at least with every virus checker I've checked.
Even better, stop using them.
Stop using bad virus checkers, yes. These are just wasting your resources. And that's everything. Any questions? Yes?
For this amazing archive you have, do you worry about bit rot?
So, yeah, the issue with bit rot is that if you don't update, put things on new media, and every year we're putting this on new drives, and there's no better way to, well, the best way to back something up is to complain about it on the internet and saying this has to be removed, and then everyone's going to download it and have a copy of it. Next best way is to ship USB drives all over the world. And this way, there are copies everywhere. I periodically update my backups as well, so there are always new versions of it. So I don't expect there to be bit rot. I guess the other thing, the type of rot that this drive is preventing is link rot, because so often websites disappear. by archiving them, putting them on here, we are minimizing, or I should say mitigating, the link rot as well.
Yeah, I was just curious, do you do like MD5 checksums?
No, I don't do that. I'm not really too concerned about that. I can see it potentially being an issue, but yeah, not been concerned about that.
Eric, about how many were purchased in the last year?
About 100 end up being made each year, which includes the ones distributed at the conference. So usually if we have 40 people at the conference, that's like 60 sold throughout the subsequent year.
I bought last year.
Oh, good.
I didn't come.
Actually, your torrent files would be good.
Yeah, the torrents have a lot of the material that isn't already elsewhere. And then the videos.hpcalc.org website has all the conference videos as well, which are linking to, it's showing that viewer that I showed you, but embedding YouTube videos that I'm covering up the YouTube interface. Yes?
Thinking about last year's drives, how many more did you sell compared to the conference of 41?
As I was just saying, I sold about 100. The conference had about 40, so that's about 60. So I made about 100. The conference had 40. I sold separately about 60 after the conference. I think the last drive was number 99 or something like that.
That's a
A little more over double, yeah. Yes?
What about the HP65 users library?
All the user libraries were pretty much lost. And there are some scans of that as well, but again, I think the vast majority is gone.
HPCC said that they have the best of the old 65 and 6741, but they remain locked in closets that people won't go in.
Yeah,
Months
actually,
ago?
yeah, it could be the best, or else it was the worst. I can't remember now, because I think they set aside the best, and that got thrown away, and everything they didn't set aside. I can't remember, but all I know is yes, there's something that's in someone's attic, and they're trying to get it, and they haven't been able to.
Can we clone you and send them to the UK?
Yeah, if I get a sabbatical and just live there for a while and scan.
You know, if they're not scanned, they're going to be gone.
Exactly.
That's the way it happens.
And that's the important thing, that as we cease to have our collections, who's going to preserve this? Our heirs, our descendants, are probably going to see a box of junk and throw it away. It might be worth a lot on eBay, but they don't know that. Or it's just paper memorabilia, which has no monetary value, but certainly has historical value. So one of the reasons I'm doing this is to make sure these things are not lost, at least not in digital form.
Yep.
If people have library programs, do you want them to reach out to you? See if you want to scan them?
Yeah, one thing I've thought about doing is trying to make a digitized version of the users library catalogs so that we can just check off which ones we have. It could be, yeah, I do have the Solve and Integrate catalog, the last one from the 41, which doesn't have the 67, 65, that kind of thing on it. But it should be pretty complete for 41, which is what I'd base it on.
But I sent you the HP catalogs also, right?
No.
Huh? Sure.
I don't remember any HP users. I know the Solve and Integrate was the last one because it went to Solve and Integrate.
Oh, no, there's many.
Library in the literature size too. At least one version from the 80s.
Yeah, right. I have something. I don't have all of them. I don't have the older ones.
You have a relationship with Adams?
What about?
Hmm?
What
I
kind?
sold my stuff to
Yeah. What kind of relationship? I've
You
talked to him.
talk to him
Yeah.
often?
He's sent me a few things that
Eric,
went
I
to.
have all of them.
You have
Every single one.
but not the program, just the library catalogs.
Right.
Yeah.
just the library.
The issue, of course, would be deduping and figuring out what's in there. But yeah,
Well, I didn't.
I'm not really.
Many.
This isn't a high priority for me. But if someone else wants to try to do that, that would be nice, and then I could just make a website that people can check things off on. Yes.
Eric, we talked in the past, a lot of stuff that I was gonna send out, but they're like magazine.
I've not been doing that. I'm just focusing on books and manuals. I've not looked into doing the magazine articles.
Talk to Felix. Felix. Oh, never mind, he's right there.
We can cover that.
Okay, yeah, good choice.
The user library comes in two flavors. There's European one.
Yes, yes.
I have 41 European version with Spanish, Italian,
Mhm.
other language.
Yes, I've scanned one of those catalogs as well.
And I have some 67 and some others.
Okay.
Other catalogs. And I have 40, 20, 30, 50 scanned photocopied programs, so I'll check this.
Yeah, one thing I'm not sure about is really how many programs there were in the libraries in the first place. We have sequence numbers on them, but I'm not sure where they jumped around, so it could be a big effort to go through the different catalogs and figure out which ones are all the unique ones.
The numbering system in Europe and
I don't think,
Yeah, probably.
Felix doesn't cover, he only covers books.
No, Felix has articles and stuff like that. Don't you? Yeah.
Eric, to finish off on the reason I asked you,
Yes.
a lot of the user library programs are also found in magazine articles.
Yeah, right, yes, so then we can recover them that way.
Those
That's
we're
true.
interested in, but not
Yeah.
the magazine articles that are extended to everything.
Right. I think that would be valuable to put together at some point.
I'll explain the history of the HP library, I've got some.
One other thing, if you find a book, magazine, manual, or anything that's related, go to Eric's literature site, and there's a link at the top, which is something like a list of all known publications, which includes things that are currently not in there. So it's really a list of all known that are known. So if you find something, look at the all known, and if it shows up on that page and it's not actually there, talk to Eric or me or somebody. We want to capture the document.
And if it doesn't show up in that page, I'd like to know about it so I can add it to the list too. Because I'm trying to get like ISBN number, part number of every single book manual related to these calculators. But again, I'm not focusing on brochures, articles, anything like that. I'm just collecting books and manuals. Jake's got a lot of the other stuff on his collection.
There were a lot of user submissions in the old CompuServe forums that may not be captured. I've got a small slice of what I
Okay. Yeah, a lot of that I'm sure is gone.
Then Eric, there's one other aspect of it.
Yes.
that There are books out there that some have been here where they're combined, and the entire book doesn't cover just HP. It may be TI and so on.
Yes.
So I've captured those from libraries and so on, just the HP part,
Okay.
but don't post them out because they're incomplete.
Okay, yeah.
I'm interested in that.
So I'm only doing complete books, and when they do cover other brands of calculators, I include those pages as well.
These are
Some of these might be 10% HP, 90% others.
pages, they're not normal sized books.
Oh, yeah.
They're oversized.
Those are, I guess, a lower value to the community, too. I may not want to focus my time on those as much. Yeah, I might. It's just that could be, if it's 500 pages, it could be a lot of work.
Captured them,
Okay.
but I didn't know if you still had interest in.
Possibly, yeah. Let me know. And if they're good quality scans, I can work with them.
I try to do 600 tonight.
Great. Awesome. Yes?
Besides just DPI, do you have to decide like color depth?
Yeah, so I have a whole presentation. I give about an hour and a half long presentation on my scanning process a few years, I think HHC 2021. You can watch that on YouTube where I talk all about that. Yeah, but yes, if it's color, I do 24-bit. If it's not color, I do 8-bit. And then my processing, my PDFs ultimately are 400 DPI, 8-bit for color, and 4-bit for grayscale. But I also keep the original files and at some point could produce like 600 DPI 24-bit PDFs if there were a justification for it. But those are about 4 times the size of the ones that I have on the website now and of really minimal extra quality from a normal perspective. Yeah, that too.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess if that's everything, thank you.
Thank you, Larry.